Good morning. Absolutely glorious morning. About 20 minutes to sunrise, a little chill in the air. Nobody out here really. There's actually one pelican. There's one pelican, like as far as the eye can see, just hanging out there by himself. That's pretty cool. Awesome day. Going to be an awesome day. Awesome night. Any morning that I get to wake up with an air in my lungs and a roof over my head, and just truly blessed. Wanted to cover a pretty cool topic. Everybody remembers that line from the movie Top Gun, right? Where Goose and Mav are walking out to their jet, and I feel the need for speed, and they do that famous high five. Well, it wasn't just a cheesy throwaway line in a movie. It's fact. As fighter pilots, we have a saying: speed is life. And that's what they were kind of getting at. So speed is life probably doesn't sound as cool as I feel the need for speed, but as a fighter pilot, speed is life. Okay? You have to, we call it EM, energy management. You have absolutely got to manage your energy or you're going to get killed. Okay? And it really applies so well to life. If you don't manage your energy, bad things can happen, right? Everything's energy, right? The beach that I'm standing on, the sun that we're going to see here in a couple minutes. Do you know how many Earths, do you know how many Earths are in the sun? 1.3 million. You can't even fathom how large the sun is. 1.3 million Earths are in the sun. So everything's energy. You are energy. You're 99.9, almost infinity energy. This exoskeleton is like just a fraction of what we are. Everything's energy. So as a fighter pilot, in a dogfight, when I come in and I merge with another aircraft, 1,200 miles an hour, I have to manage my energy. If you've ever watched any of my dogfighting videos, I look like Marty Feldman in Young Frankenstein, right? I got one eye on my threat, my enemy, and I have one eye coming back inside the cockpit or up at my HUD, my heads up display, because I have to manage I'm constantly evaluating what is my airspeed, what is my enemy's airspeed, what's my opponent's airspeed. We actually have diagrams, EM diagram, our energy management diagram, where we will overlay threat aircraft on top of our energy envelope to see where we perform best and they perform best, right? We actually have an airspeed called corner speed, which is the most optimum airspeed that your fighter aircraft turns at, right? Rate and radius. There's two types of turns that we're worried about there. Well, there's only one turn, but how you manage it, okay? But let's talk a little bit more about energy management because it's absolutely critical as a fighter pilot. If you're too fast, how can you dissipate energy? You can pull back on the stick and pull G's, right? Those positive G's. The blood's starting to leave your head. I actually would fight the jet on the edge of consciousness, right? Because there's no points for second place, right? You lose in a dogfight, you blow up. You get turned into hair, teeth, and eyeballs, right? So when I merge with an enemy aircraft, or even in training, we pull the G, the blood leaves the head, and you actually have to squeeze your abs and your legs. That's why we got to be in pretty good shape. Squeeze your abs, your legs, to squeeze that blood back up into your head. We actually, if you've ever passed out, what usually goes first? Your vision, right? We call it gray out. You can still fly the airplane, you can still hear, you kind of know stuff like that, but you can't see. You actually gray out. So we would fight the jet on the edge of consciousness sometimes in gray out. Okay? So if you're too fast, you can pull a shitload of G and bleed some of that energy and slow down. Conversely, if you're slow, you unload the aircraft, stick full forward, one potato, two potato, get some airspeed back, and get back into the fight. And it's kind of like life, man. If you're really moving too fast, maybe pull some G's on it. Let's manage our energy and slow down a little bit. Or if you're slow, unload. Go take some time, get some airspeed back on your jet, and pitch back into the fight. It's all about energy management. And yeah, definitely being too fast in my world can get you killed. One of my good friends, Chili, we were F-18 instructor pilots together at Miramar in San Diego in a Marine squadron, the sharpshooters. And he and a student, I feel incredible. I feel, as soon as I start talking about this, I feel like shit. I feel guilty. I actually talk about it in my book, From Sea Level to Sea Level. So this student, Miguel Avora, he shouldn't have been there, man. The Marines were hard up looking for pilots. They needed Hornet guys, and this kid just didn't have the aptitude, man. He had struggled. I had flown an earlier flight with him that sucked. He had gotten a lot of what we call downs. If you get a down on a flight, it means an F. You failed that flight. He had a bunch of downs, and we went to a board. I was on the board. Since I ran the CQ phase, carrier qualification phase. What's that mean? Before a Navy or Marine F-18 pilot gets to go to the fleet or land aboard one of these things out here, he's got to carrier qualify in the Hornet. So I and my fellow Navy brothers would teach the Marines and the Navy student F-18 pilots how to land aboard the Hornet, how to land aboard the ship day and their first time at night. So when he went to this board to determine if he was going to keep on flying, they wanted me on the board because that was his last phase he was going to go to. He was going to go to CQ before he went to the fleet. And I remember the board, it was 4 of us, I think. The OPSO, operations officer, was the head of the board, and we had to make a recommendation to the skipper whether this kid was going to keep flying. I remember after about 5, I knew, like 2 minutes sitting on this board, I'm like, done. He's done. He can maybe still be a naval aviator. Throw him in a helicopter, man, or a C-130. He needs to be with other people. He's got a 150-knot brain. And the OPSO was like, come on, Wiz, we got it's got to be unanimous. The skipper, he's not going to dig if you dissent, especially since you're the carrier qualification phase head. And I'm like, well, fuck, man, that should tell you something right there. But anyway, so I caved. I had a flight that afternoon. I wanted to go across the street to the Rice King and grab some chow. I'm like, you know what, man, whatever. Keep an eye on them. They're like, here, I'm like, can we do anything? And the OPSO, Grinch, was like, dude, we'll put him on double secret probation. So he'll go in the back seat, right? He'll go out with an instructor, watch the instructor fly the hop. They'll land like out in Yuma and do what we call an out and in, meaning you go out, debrief, go fly another flight, and in. And then the second flight, he'll do the flight with the instructor in the back seat. I'm like, won't that fucking cost a lot of money? Not like I was some fiscally really. Anyway, I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. That sounds great. Double secret probation. So here's what happens. He goes out and does what's called a fighter WEPS hop. Very challenging hop. You have to fly formation off your flight lead. You got to work your radar, keep flying formation. You got to look at bad guys. So he and Chili, my buddy, was in the back seat. They went out of Miramar, launched out of Miramar, went and did a fighter WEPS hop where they were fighting F-5s, the MiG-28 from the movie Top Gun. You know, that black jet with the red star in the tail. That's actually an F-5. That's an adversary aircraft. So they went out and fought the F-5s out of Yuma, Marine F-5s, landed in Yuma and debriefed. Average hop, Chili. I remember Chili telling me, like, let's just get him through type of thing. And then they took off for the second flight out of Yuma, where the student, Miguel, was in the front seat, and they were going to go out and fight the F-5s again. And after an engagement, they're boogieing on the deck, right? They put some missiles into the bad guys, and they're trying to escape at low altitude. About 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 feet, low altitude. They're hauling ass. A lot of energy on the jet. Well, apparently, one of these F-5s that they hadn't seen, I guess, had kind of swung their wing line. But at that speed and that altitude, there's no way that F-5 could have turned and been a threat. And first of all, they were simulating a threat that really couldn't have reached out and touched them anyway. So hauling ass in this direction, here comes an F-5 swinging their wing line, but it doesn't matter. A smarter aviator at the time would have been like, ain't no way he's going to catch me. Let's we call it bugging out. Let's bug out. And Chili's like, man, as soon as I saw that F-5, before I could say anything over the ICS, the inter-cockpit communication system, to the student, because he's like, dude, I saw his head, and he looked at the F-5, and I could tell he was going to try and go after him. And Chili's like, dude, before I could say anything, he did a hard brake turn. Awesome, well, not awesome, a hard brake turn to go after the F-5. And down at that low altitude, they departed flight. The kid departed the aircraft. And I don't mean, well, I do mean departed because the kid never left the aircraft. But we use the term departed meaning out of control. So saw the F5, pulled, put some shitty flight control or inputs into the flight controls, and the jet departed. Means it lost control in the blink of an eye. Hauling ass, violent departure, out of control. Chili's like, holy shit, man. In the F-18, if you are out of control below 6,000 feet, you got to eject. It says eject. And Chili's like, dude, it was violent, getting thrown all over the cockpit. And he's like, and they're talking. They're talking, holy shit, you know. And Chili says, oh, holy shit, man, let's get out of the jet. And he pulled the handle. Chili initiated ejection. Now listen to me. In the F-18, in this two-seat F-18 we were in, the ejection select handle was in aft initiate, which meant as soon as Chili pulled the handle, boom, canopy went, boom, Chili went, front seat's supposed to go. Chili told me, Wiz, I'm fucking wake up, hanging in my parachute. I look out and all of a sudden I see, boom, big cloud of dust in the desert and fireball. And he's like, I'm fucking looking around, bro. And I don't see another chute. And he gets on the deck and fireball, no other chute. So Captain Evora died in that crash. Here's what happened. When Chili pulled his handle and the back seat fired, the gas from that explosion is supposed to go through a line to the front ejection seat and fire that seat. The investigators found out that there was some Fetzer valve in between the aft and the front seat that was blocked. So the gas from Chili's seat didn't get to the front seat, and the seat didn't fire. You ready for this fucking horrific news? Of course, all of us as instructor pilots, our first question was, would the seat have fired if he had pulled the handle? The engineers and the investigation team? Yeah. So after Chili ejected out, after that canopy came off violently and loud and the aft seat fired, that fucking kid spent the next 12 seconds of his life sitting in that seat waiting for it to fire instead of pulling his own handle. So, well, and here's it's fucked up enough. Here's the really fucked up part. So as the instructor pilots, we're like, oh my God. I always briefed any student. I'm like, this, and we all said this. It was, I'll race you for the handle. Meaning, even if that kid had pulled first, if Miguel had pulled the handle, Chili would have gone first, and then his seat would have fired. We always briefed, I'll race you for the handle. We actually did a survey of the students in the squadron, and some ridiculous amount of students, like 75%, said, yeah, I'd sit there in the seat and wait for it to fire. Holy shit, man, as all of us instructors like, oh my God. What if we failed? Everything failed. The part failed. But I mean, what part of I'll race you for the hand? Dude, if the back seat fired and I'm sitting there, I would have pulled the handle, I would have flapped my arms, I would have done everything to try and live. But man, I fucking still feel guilty. That fucking poor kid, man. Went to the memorial service at the Miramar Chapel. His wife in the front pew and a young kid. Absolute. That sucks. Sucks. And you know what? The mishap board gave Chili some shit. They faulted Chili. Like, you're supposed to say eject, eject, eject over the communication system. And maybe that would have, triggered him to pull his handle too. Really? Fucking airplane's out of control. The instructor's like, let's get out of here, or whatever he said. Canopy goes, ass seat fires. and you just fucking sit there. I gotta throttle back because I'm furious that this kid's dead. But well, as the sun's coming up, I know exactly where he is, and he's with me. He's with you. He's in this sunrise. Just senseless tragedy. So I didn't know I'd get to this, but man, awful. I felt so much guilt. I still feel guilt. But energy management, man. There are times where having too much energy and making a bad decision can get you killed in our world, right? So you feel the need for speed. Be careful with it, right? Speed is life, but as we saw with Miguel, speed can also be death, which is never preferred to life. So, a couple minutes until sunrise, and I'm going to enjoy the day. Miguel, God bless you, man, and your wife and your child. Tough loss. Lessons learned, man. We got it. Unfortunately, in the military, as it should be in the business world or life in general, but it tends not to be, man, when a mishap happens, we lose somebody, man, or lose an aircraft, we fucking learn. The emergency procedures section of the F-18 manual, was when it came out in 1984, probably was a couple pages that some booger-eating engineers came up with, like, well, if this happens, do this. By the time I stopped flying the Hornet, I think the emergency procedures section had about 90 pages. Why? We say it's written in blood. And those emergency procedures are really written in blood. So energy management, man. Conserve your energy. Always evaluate your energy. Everything is energy. Put out good energy. Don't hang around with energy sponges, right? People who just suck your energy, man. Energy sponges can be just as lethal. So if you feel the need for speed, manage it appropriately. I'm going to watch sunrise here. Very thankful for this day. Very thankful for you. Very thankful for our project. No Fallen Heroes, saving veterans' lives, changing lives, raising awareness, and getting on a path to legalization for medicines that save veterans' lives. Not only veterans' lives, but all Americans as well. So have a great rest of your day. God bless you, and namaste. I'll talk to you later.